And Mr. Heflin, will you call the roll, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. John Kinney.
Yes, John Kennedy, here.
Betsy Hester.
Betsy Hester here.
Davis Lamb.
Davis Lamb present.
Brad Hoot.
Here, Sergeant.
Robbie Adams.
Here.
Liz McLaurin.
Here.
Andy Reese.
Here. I'm here.
That's everybody.
Very good. I think then we need to have a motion for the necessity of meeting electronically. Would anyone prepare?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Commissioner Hester.
Christie, does anything need to be read beyond that, or are we good to go?
No, we're good.
Okay. John Kinney.
Here.
No, this is a roll call approving this motion, I think.
Yes.
Betsy Hester.
Yes.
Davis Lamb.
Yes.
Brad Hoot.
Yes.
Robbie Adams.
Yes.
Liz McLaurin.
Yes.
Andy Reese.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
So moved, so approved. Next order is approval of the minutes. Would anyone, let me open the floor for, I guess, for comments on the minutes.
Okay, I have some. Small ones, pen and ink. Under the page that starts with board discussion, which is item 3.4. I think that's the third line says center is limited to 183 guests. These are just pen and ink. So that should be plural. And then down where the paragraph 2 below that, it starts with Andy Reese asked how the guest limit was determined. Should be a D on there, I think. And then last paragraph on that page,
266-0207.
Rob Adams, starts with Rob Adams, and the second line, event should be plural.
266-0207.
Could you mute, please, if you're not speaking? Thank you. Did you get all those pen and ink corrections?
Yes, I did.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
It's John Kennedy. I make a motion to approve.
Davis will second the motion.
Could I have a roll call vote, please?
John Kinney.
Approve.
Betsy Hester.
Gotta unmute, Betsy, sorry.
I don't. Let's
You
see.
got
Yes.
it.
Davis
Okay.
Lamb.
Yeah, approved.
Brad Hoot.
Approve.
Robbie Adams.
Approve.
Liz McLaurin.
Approved.
Andy Reese.
Approve.
Unanimous.
Next order of business is, I guess, discussion of the, or review of the annual report. What is the, can you give us a little more light on the title MS4 annual report?
Absolutely. So every year we do an annual report in line with the state MS4 permit. and they do require us to put it before you guys, before the county mayor signs it, and then after that we'll submit it to the state. So basically, this is a summary of our stormwater management program specifically for water quality. It includes, you know, various aspects, and we'll briefly go through it. There's different things like education, different BMPs, inspections, construction site monitoring, stream sampling, lots of different components. So that's basically what it is.
Very good.
And with that, I'll go ahead and kind of briefly go through it. I've got should be up on your screen. If anybody wants me to zoom into anything or has any questions, please feel free to ask those as we go along. I'm basically going to briefly go through it and try to highlight some of the changes. So basically, the first 6 pages are just the Tennessee application. There's not a whole lot of substance there. It's just kind of updating. You know, from year to year, it's just going to mainly just be different numbers, how many on this page. And I don't know if you guys can't see it, I can zoom in. I'll go ahead and do that. But, you know, we've had 35 citation administrative penalties this year. This is, by the way, just so you guys know, this is fiscal year 2019, which starts July 1st, 2019 through June 30th of 2020. So that's the time period we're looking at here. So moving on
Michael?
to the, yes.
What, how do those numbers compare with the past? Are we doing more or less?
I mean, it varies year to year. This year was a little slower than previous years, and you know, a lot of that depends on complaints we receive, and we'll get into that. We didn't get as many complaints this past year as we did the previous year, and as it looks like we're getting this year. So I think these numbers are probably a little bit lower than usual.
Should we hold questions about some of the data until you finish your summary? Would that make sense?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Let's go through it, and then
Let's
you
do
guys
that.
hold on to your questions, and
And we'll come back and fire away.
Okay, so the first article here in our I guess supplemental information is the impaired waters in Williamson County. This includes all of the waters, all of the creeks that are impaired in all of Williamson County. And over here on this side, I've kind of broken down which municipality is primarily responsible. It's difficult with creeks because creeks cross boundary lines, municipal boundary lines. So typically I'll just look at which jurisdiction is it predominantly in. This didn't change much. There's one kind of, I guess, notable difference this year from previous years, and it has to do with, let me see here, McCrory. McCrory Creek was on it. It came off of it, and it appears like it's back on the impaired list. So this is new. McCrory right here along these 2 columns. So we got McCrory here, and then these are, rows. These 2 rows are what it is impaired for: E. coli and phosphorus. E. coli is source unknown. Phosphorus is site development, land development, or redevelopment. So I guess that would have to do with, you know, fertilizers and nutrients that are being applied in the McCrory Creek Basin. So that's interesting. Other than that, I don't know of any major changes to the impaired creek list. Now, as far as the exceptional waters, we also have a list of exceptional waters. Most of these are located in the western portion of Williamson County, you know, Boston Branch, Burns Branch. I won't go through all these, Garrison Creek, Harpeth River, and this is exceptional. This is kind of the opposite. These are considered exceptional by the state. All these are pretty old. They've been on there for years, but I did notice this year at the bottom, we have, I guess, Mill Creek, unnamed tributaries, and that's, I believe, has to do with a salamander or something. But, and then we also have Arrington Creek, which I guess has just been added fairly recently to the exceptional list. So Arrington Creek goes through the east portion of the county, like Kings Chapel area, up in that area. So that's interesting. Impaired and exceptional waters do have additional resource protection we have to look at during development and plating process and everything like that. So, and also with the design of their stormwater control. So it's important to know which ones are impaired and exceptional. Moving to the brunt of our stormwater management plan. Basically, we have the best management practices, the public information, education plan, stream monitoring summary, enforcement response plan, and our operation maintenance program. These are all mandated by the state that we have some type of information and are doing something regarding each one of these concerns. So the best management practices, programs, and processes is just an overview of pretty much everything that we're doing. We have our stream cleanup as part of our education outreach. We went from the Harpeth River, or I guess technically the West Harpeth, on Del Rio down the Harpeth to Mr. Kenny's farm. So we appreciate Mr. Kenny opening that up for us to take out there, and we had a good cleanup. This year we did some public service announcements. We actually did with Joe Horn and WCT R10. We did some YouTube videos about water quality, so I think you can check those out on YouTube. And we also mailed out 246 brochures for that were impaired, basically properties on impaired streams. So what I do is I'll kind of highlight a couple impaired streams that we have. In this case, it was Donaldson Creek and 5 Mile Creek. I've done Harpeth, I've done Linwood and other creeks in the past. So this year we focused on those. And we basically sent brochures to every property owner along within 100 feet of either one of those creeks. Most of this is the same. We did non-visual stream assessments this year. I'm zooming through this because a lot of it's just the same stuff from year to year. This is different, BMP 3B. This is something the state requested. They wanted to know specifically what our priority construction activity was. I told them that, we view all of our sites as priority, which that apparently was not good enough for them. So we went through and kind of specified priority sites as being sites on exceptional or I believe impaired, impaired or exceptional waters. So basically what this says is if you have a stream or tributary that's on your development, that's on the list, then you're a priority site. In the real world, we're looking at all of our sites, I guess every month anyway, but when there's an exceptional or impaired stream, we're just taking a little more consideration about their stormwater controls. This is all pretty much the same year to year. I'm not going to go through this. This is just a table summarizing what we just talked about. Our public information and education plan. Basically, we do targeted mailings, stream cleanups, public service announcements, education days, and stormwater information on our website. This year, on October 2nd, we went to, me and Will Methvin went and we helped with Brentwood's Environmental Day, where they have kids from Brentwood and Ravenwood students who are in, I guess, who were taking environmental classes or have an environmental class. They come out. There's hundreds of kids out there, and we we each have a booth set up and talk about stormwater quality things. We were in the creek this year talking about stream sampling, and there's actually included a, this is our, before I get to the periodical I got in there, I'll go through this real quick. This is the brochure that we sent out to the individuals who own property along impaired stream. It can be used for other things, but that's kind of how we've used it as a guide to waterway natural areas that we developed a few years ago. So this is what I was talking about a minute ago. This kind of summarizes the environmental day at the Deerwood Arboretum. And so there's kids with microscopes looking at critters and stuff. You guys can read through that if you hadn't. It's a quick little read. This is just a summary of our stream cleanup. Now this is our stream sampling summary. These are our impaired, well, before I get to that, I guess about 4 years ago, the state required that we sample every impaired stream in our jurisdiction. Let me see if I have a, yeah, which is basically this map. That's every impaired stream, I believe. A lot of creeks. We were able to kind of negotiate with the state and kind of target which ones specifically were not impaired from agriculture, which is Trace Creek up here, Harpeth, or not entirely impaired from ag. There's some ag components, but there's also some development components. Got Linwood Creek. We have Donaldson, the Harpeth, over another section of the Harpeth, and of course 5 Mile right here in the center part. Our VSAs, that's our visual stream assessments that we're trying to do. We've got a lot of work to go, or yet to do. The green ones are ones we've done. The red ones are still ones to do. These take some time to do. It's hard to get out, and we love doing it, but it's hard to find the time to get out there and do these. We've got to calibrate the equipment, and each one takes, I don't know, probably an hour at least, and we just go from site to site. And I'll show you what we're doing here in a minute. Oh, actually, it's right here. So this is a visual stream assessment. So this is what we do for each one of these triangles here. We go through and we take all this information. I'm not going to read it all to you, but it does involve parameters like pH and conductivity, temperature, DO, flow measurements. We also look at the physical characteristics, channel characteristics, stream characteristics. 2 sheets for that, and then we also do what's called a habitat assessment field sheet, and this is just looking at kind of just looking at the I guess riffles and embeddedness, velocity, depth regime, just the characteristics of the creek and the surrounding riparian buffer, sediment deposition, channel flow. So we rate that, and depending on the rating at the end, got a rating, a total score. And there are, I guess, thresholds for what's considered non-impaired, or what's considered a good rating, and what's considered a bad rating. I don't have that number in front of me. I think this one's a little below. This is, which creek is this? Linwood. Sometimes, most of the time, they're fairly low, but every once in a while we'll have one that scores pretty high on this. But I'm not going to read through all these. There's quite a few of these sheets. So let's zoom down here. Our enforcement response plan has not really changed much over the years. These are what we're primarily, and this is, with construction sites where we get citizen complaints, we're looking at illicit discharges, we're looking at failure to have a land disturbance, failure to have controls, or unpermitted encroachment into a waterway natural area. And this is just kind of summarizing, I guess stepping up. We can start with a verbal warning, notice of violation, civil penalty, cease and desist, withholding plans, or additional measures. So it's kind of getting in the front of it here. Brad was asking if it's high or low. This year it's a little lower. I think last year we had quite a few more complaints. I think on a scale of maybe like closer to 100. This year I only documented 28 complaints, and I think even for this year, this fiscal year, we're getting close to that number, just from all the rain we've had. So it varies a lot year to year. Of those complaints, only 14 were construction site illicit discharge, failure to maintain. 10 were runoff, like, hey, I've got too much water coming from my neighbor's property, illicit discharge, and we had a couple slope failures that we got complaints on. Pretty massive slopes were failing, if I remember correctly. So this is just a graph. Revenues, we issued 69,000 in residential lot permit. These are our residential lot permit fees. 9,900 in subdivision non-residential stormwater appeals. That means I guess we had 6 meetings. And then we issued 31,500 in stormwater penalties. So our operation and maintenance program is dealing more with county-run facilities, specifically Highway Department Convenience Centers, Transportation Garage, Administrative Complex Garage, the Ag Expo Park, Parks and Rec Maintenance, and EMA. This year, due to coronavirus, we kind of handled it a little bit different, which actually worked out pretty well. And I sent out Survey Monkey to each administrator of each one of these, or facility directors of each one of these, and had them, because we've been training for years on what I'm looking for. You know, they know what to look for, and they know how to do this. So I feel like they're at a point where they can kind of administer this a little bit more than us coming out and doing it. And they'll fill out the Survey Monkey, and they'll, you know, let us know if they have any questions. Of course, we'll obviously help them with that. But basically, this year, and this is a little confusing, I know, but this is the Survey Monkey form. I sent this out to all the administrators and these different departments here. I don't know if you can see that, but in public safety, man, they sent back like 5 responses. So I was pretty excited. I only expected 1, so that was above and beyond. You know, we're asking questions like, let me see here. Erosion prevention, sediment control on site, is like stabilized. Material handling, chemical handling, spill prevention controls. You have a spill kit. You know, all of them answered, hey, yes, we got that. So on and so forth. Vehicle maintenance. And then typically if they say no or give me a no response, they'll give me an explanation of what they're doing to correct that. And then we'll follow up accordingly. Here's all we also do training, stormwater training for each department, and we have somebody on their staff that is trained and can kind of facilitate this. So solid waste has several people. EMA has several people, and each of the other departments has a primary contact. And that is pretty much it for our annual report. So now I'll open it up to questions.
Fire
I have a
away.
question. Where in here is how we're doing? Is there like a conclusion to this, or a synopsis or something that says, boy, we really did good this year. We used to have this many streams and this much stuff, and now we're a lot better, or we kind of slid back or something. Is there something like that in here?
I was kind of
It's not even for me
how we're doing.
to get out of this how we're doing.
Well, that's kind of what the state does. They're supposed to review these and let us know if there's any deficiencies, which they do from time to time. And we try to correct those. And that's kind of what we did with our construction site, or a priority site, like I was telling you about earlier. they, informed us that we needed to do better with prioritizing sites and having I guess a checklist for each development site that we go through and check for impaired streams and exceptional streams. So we've incorporated that into our basically our policy or our when we review development plans. But to answer your question, I think it's I guess you could ask, I mean, what specifically are you looking for?
Well, I'd like to know if we're making any improvements. Is the Harpeth River better than it used to be?
Brad, this is
Yeah.
Floyd. I think the difficulty is, I mean, this is the state's format for us to do each year to show that our program is in compliance with their regulations. And I don't know if they've really set this up to emphasize improvement as much as compliance.
I guess that's all right.
This is John Kenny. On your testing your impaired streams, what time of the year do you do that, or is it set for any time?
Yeah, we like to do it. We don't typically do it in the summer because the water's so low. We like to do it in the fall and spring, and sometimes winter. It just depends on the weather conditions. If it's normal flow conditions and it's not too crazy hot, we try to get out there and do it. But like I was saying, that's been a problem to get out and do it because it takes 2 staff members and we have only one set of equipment to do it. So it's hard to find the time, but typically spring, fall, normal weather conditions.
Also on your cleanup, and I know on the Harpeth River, since I've got so much land on the Harpeth River, I've had less cleanup around where people left garbage or whatever, and I see more people on the river though. But I think it's really doing a better job on the cleanup on the Harpeth, what I think.
That's
This
what I'm
is,
talking about right there.
yes, this is Betsy Hester. May I ask a question about, this is a great report, and I know it took a lot of work, so thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Creekside Elementary School was recently built there on Goosey Hill Road, and I've had some constituents ask about Toon Creek. Has there been a visual assessment of Toon Creek, please?
There has not been a visual stream assessment of Toon, and I don't believe Toon is on the list. I guess the struggle, Toon, and it's kind of blurry, but Toon is not on the list. I guess the struggle with us, and I realize there's other creeks that probably need it, but I'm looking at like 70, 80 mandated visual stream assessments we got to do, and it's hard to do. And we're struggling just to get these done, and we're supposed to have these done by the end of this fiscal year. So we got a lot of work to do just on our mandated ones. We don't have one on Toon Creek.
When you say mandated, is it mandated by the state?
The state, yes, the state requires us to do visual stream assessments on all impaired streams upstream and downstream of each crossing or outfall. And typically the county outfalls are going to be, what they consider, I guess, roadway crossings. So basically we're going to areas at each road and or crossings of each county road on these streams and doing an assessment.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Scroll that map down to where I can see the top corner, would you?
Up here?
Yeah, is that, those are on those visuals are on Trace Creek, right? Can you
This one up
enlarge
here,
that right there?
This is Trace. These are other tributaries, I think like Brown Creek, and I forget the name of it. Harpeth, of course, is right here. Linwood's over here. Little Harpeth is up here. But yes, that Greenwood's Trace Creek.
Enlarge that Trace Creek thing for me, would you?
It's going to get a little pixelated.
Yeah, it'll blur out.
I can tell you where it was. It was done in front of St. Matthew's, I believe, right there
Yeah.
off me.
And how did it come out?
It didn't. I don't know if that was this. This is all of them that we've done to date. I don't know if that's even in this. You might have to refer back to our last year's.
Okay, I'll do that later.
But it didn't. It didn't do so well. There was a lot of looked like a lot of evidence of fertilizer, a lot of algae. The DO was kind of weird on that one. If that helps.
Okay, I'll look into that one
concerning
later.
the report? Liz, any questions?
Oops, I'm muted, sorry.
That's a lot to digest.
I actually did have a question, and I can see how much work this report was as well, and I'm grateful for it. And on the improvements, I was just wondering if you could look back, like if I could find last year's report, or you could send it to us so we could actually look at the impaired streams and see if from last year and see if any fell off. That was just a question if that kind of comparison could be done.
Yeah, I think we can get you all the year. Matter of fact, I try to keep them on our website, but I don't think all the years are on there. So I may just send them down to our IT department and have them put multiple years of these annual reports on there just for reference. That's a good idea.
I'm just interested to see, do a little comparison year to year. Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? I had a couple while we're waiting, and this is probably a dumb question, but can you explain to me the differences in available parameters, the definitions of available parameters, unavailable parameters, exceptional Tennessee waters, and outstanding national resource waters?
Yeah, I think so, kind of. For some reason, a couple years back, the term impaired was changed to unavailable parameters. And I guess what they were trying to do was make it not sound so bad. I don't know. Maybe the term impaired has a negative connotation, whereas unavailable parameters is saying there's certain parameters. No.
Is that kind of like a
it's
case
unavailable.
unavailable for graduation? Is that?
Yeah, it's not a term I like, and frankly, I'm kind of confused on it too. I don't know, Floyd, do you have any idea?
No, I'm sorry. I don't think I can help you on that one.
So that one, I actually did find a definition of that one in the general permit. It says unavailable parameters exist where water quality is at or fails to meet the level specified in the water quality rule 0400 blah blah blah. So I think I got that one, but I don't know how those two interact with exceptional Tennessee waters or outstanding national resource waters.
Okay. Yeah, so exceptional Tennessee waters is kind of the opposite extreme. It's where the state has gone out and found either very high marks for the habitat assessments and some of the stream sampling, because they do some of their own stream sampling. And outstanding national resource, these terms are used, I think, for our purpose kind of interchangeably. I don't think they are, but I do know that especially in the west part of Williamson County, like Garrison Creek, it's not all of Garrison Creek that's on that list, I don't think. I think it's just the areas that go within like the Natural Straits Parkway, which is a federal park. And that applies to several of these streams. So it's like they're picking out some of these exceptional streams that go through federal park and labeling them as outstanding natural resource. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but for the purpose of stormwater and you know, our purposes, it's basically the same thing. Exceptional, very high on the list, or maybe it has a salamander or something in it that is
What
rare
is the
or endangered.
purpose? What is the purpose of those designations, and how do they impact your work?
Well, the purpose is just to outline, like I was saying, if there's like a salamander or a snail darter or something that only exists, or a natural crayfish that only exists in that water, or they're very pristine. You know, there's not been much development, not much agriculture, and they're just in very good condition. As far as us, you know, if you have a construction site coming out that discharges or has an exceptional water on site, that construction site will have to do additional stormwater. And so what I mean by that is instead of designing sediment basins or your sediment controls for a 2-year event, you've now got to design it for a 5-year event. Instead of having a 50-foot buffer, you got to have a 60-foot buffer. So there's just additional, you know, I guess, regulation compliance that would have to be done to try to, I guess, keep those.
So you need to, so really we need to be enforcing those as well. In addition to our watershed natural area buffers and things like that.
Well, it's all one and the same. So instead of requiring a 50-foot waterway natural area, we'll tell them it has to be 60-foot.
Gotcha.
So it's still a waterway natural area. We're still enforcing it. We're just, it's bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I had it, by the way, great job on this, man. You guys, I now know what you do for a living. You got to run really fast. Is there any reason to get, you know, some, you know, smart college kids during the summer or something to try to knock out these visual assessments quicker, or a nonprofit to help you or something like that? It seems like the backlog is just almost insurmountable for you.
I think so. What do you think, Floyd?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good idea. We occasionally have, you know, the opportunity to get some help during the summer for interns, and this would probably be a good project for them. I think that the difficulty comes in, I guess, if I guess they would have to go along with a full-time staff member as far as being able to operate, you know, county vehicles, and then, you know, a certain amount of training is involved, and how long could they you know, remain engaged in this to get these knocked out. But yeah, I think it's something we can look into.
Yeah, I know that visual assessment's really important, and to see all those orange dots and all the time it takes, and seeing everything else Michael has to do, I'm like, I don't know how you ever get this done. But anyway, I had a couple more real quickies. One is, we don't have snow disposal areas. What's up with that? I'm kidding. Strike that from the minutes, but it's like the only no on the list. Can you talk a bit more about the construction enforcements? What is going wrong? What are people forgetting to do generally during construction that is triggering all of those enforcement activities?
You know, I guess the biggest thing is, well, one of the things is maintenance. Even though we have pre-construction meetings, even though we tell them that they've got to have twice weekly inspections, which they're doing by a third party, it still seems like there's a disconnect between what, you know, and I look at the slip boxes, which have the inspection reports that they're doing in there. And, you know, it comes down really to money. You know, are they going to go through and take all these inspection tickets or inspections that the guys are out there doing, and fix it all and stabilize areas after 14 days of not working on it, and, you know, muck out their sediment basin? They're always going to be typically I find that most contractors are going to be wanting to push that back as far as possible, which I understand the monetary thing there. The problem is we get a gully washer downfall, huge event. You know, the silt fence that's been placed, as you guys probably know, is just not going to be enough. So it's kind of a balance of really finding what has to be done and what is being done. I mean, there's a few sites that have done very, very well with their controls, and you can tell they're stabilizing site area of disturbance. They're, you know, monitoring their silt fence, and those are drive-throughs. You know, we go out there and we spend about 5 minutes. You can tell everything's in really good shape, and you go on the next site. And the next site, we may spend, 2 hours or something out there, and then additional time talking with the contractor, and it's just it's hard to keep track of all of these sites to the level where there's no illicit discharges, because some of them are so big. But yeah, there's just a lot of different things. Usually it's maintenance.
Yeah. Do you think they know what to do and they're just not doing it, or do you think they don't know what to do?
I think they probably know what to do. I mean, they have the permit, they have the information. There's no excuse for them not to do. Yeah, I think they know. I think that when I call somebody and say, "Hey, you're supposed to get it stabilized within 14 days," the response is, "Hey, that's a waste of money. We're going to go right back out there in 3 weeks and regrade it or something." So yeah, they know what to do. I think we've had this program going long enough that people understand.
Okay. Yeah. Real quick question on the E. coli source in highly urbanized areas. Is that leaking sewers, leaking septics, pet waste? Any ideas there?
Well, it's a combination.
Look at page 10.
Yeah, my understanding, page 10, my understanding is most of the time it's ag. Yeah, there's cases where it could be, like on the Little Harpeth, I think they have some issues like that.
Well, there's two. It says municipal urbanized high density area, and you have E. coli on page 10, kind of a third of the way down. Yeah, you can see it there. Right?
Yeah.
Go up to the right, and you'll see it. Just look where the
here?
first two highs are there. Look at the
You talking
two
about
highs. Yeah, right there, those two. So you
Mhm.
have a high problem. It's municipal and it's E. coli. So for me, that house raises an alarm of what is causing that.
I guess that could probably be septic systems. What do you think, Floyd?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a septic system, although we've had, a program, I think Christie was involved in it extensively, where we extended some sewer service into some of those neighborhoods that would drain to Linwood. So I would think the septic situation would be getting better. We also do have, a plant, some sewer plants, and I forget where the one in Cottonwood, of course, discharges, I think, straight to the Harpeth, and then the one in, there's one on Cartwright Creek, but I guess we don't have any kind of sewer treatment on Linwood that's not septic.
Yeah, it just is always a bit of a mystery. Is it pet waste? Is it, it's just kind of if it's a broken sewer, we can certainly fix that. And it would be interesting to see if it is or not. But just a quick question. Watershed natural areas, are they enforceable on grazing land, or are they excluded?
No, our typically anything agriculture is exempt from our
Okay.
stormwater management regs.
Okay, so it's just voluntary. If they do grazing right down to the stream bank, that's just the way it is then.
Yeah, and I mean the USDA, Trent Cash over there, he's got some pretty good programs to help with that, to help with providing water. But it is voluntary, so they would have to voluntarily want to do that.
Yeah. Last question I had was the runoff complaints. Were they just a big storm that overwhelmed the system, or do they point to kind of deficient drainage systems are they complaints you've had again and again, or are they brand new complaints? Can you kind of
And
characterize those a bit?
This is Floyd. I think, a lot of those, it's strange. And I don't know if these are people, I get the impression they're not people that have necessarily been around for this area for a long time, but maybe these are some of the new folks that move in that just, they see water and it could be, a mud puddle, I think, in their yard, and they don't think it should do that. They don't think that you should have running water or standing water, and it does not constitute, flooding per se, especially FEMA's definition of flooding, but it's just a nuisance thing where they're not experiencing necessarily any property damage. They're just seeing water where they haven't seen it before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you mostly just educate at that point. Standing water is a good thing as long as it.
Yeah, we tried.
Yeah. Okay. Last comment. So Floyd, any more feedback on the super flood on Mill Creek we had last weekend or weekend before?
I mean, that was interesting information that you sent out, and it was because we did hear from the rec center, which is actually in the town of Nolensville. I think they were talking with Nolensville on maybe what could be done to improve that situation. But, I remember years ago when it was renovated, I think it was already in Nolensville, but they did mention the architect putting in some, flood proofing controls. But I guess since the staff was not there at the building on Sunday morning, they couldn't maybe close some flood doors or barriers or whatever the case may have been. But I hadn't heard, specifically from anybody else on Mill Creek. Of course, most of Mill Creek is now in the out of our jurisdiction, but we did have, homeowners in different areas of the county that obviously we got calls from, and a lot of concern about, oh, we've never seen it like this before, and climate change gets mentioned, and a lot of other things, but yeah, we got a lot of calls.
Okay, I'm done. Thanks.
It's John Kenny. For agriculture, I'm also on the Stormwater Conservation Board of the county. And it's a whole lot of federal and state funds are going in for people. It's there if they want it, to fence these streams from cattle and things like that. I have fenced a lot of the Harp River where my cows cannot get in it. And that is a program that people are using in this county.
Betsy Hester, Floyd, you and Michael have mentioned septic tanks and possible sewage, and do you have any information on the land application systems, the STEP system, the alternative septic system? Have those been working out pretty well for us?
Betsy, we really don't have a lot of information on those. Of course, there's testing or sampling that they are supposed to be doing for the state to comply with their operating permit. But to our knowledge, we don't have anything that's out there that we know of as being a problem or being a situation where it would be failing. But that's regulated by TDEC.
Right. Thank you.
And Betsy, if I could just say something, Mr. Chairman, about that. Those systems, the non-traditional systems, they're required to send monthly operating reports to TDEC about the operation of their plant. And they're very different from septic systems because the water that's going into the disposal fields have already been treated and gone through UV treatment for E. coli and other constituents like that. So Whereas the septic system basically settles out the solids and then the soil treats the water. These non-traditional systems, the water that comes out is certainly not potable and you can't drink it, but it's already treated and cleaned before it even gets to the ground. But on top of that, the state requires them to provide monthly operating reports to TDEC for the operation of the systems.
Thank you. That's good to know.
Any other
Mr. Chairman,
questions?
while my mic is on, just a reminder that this item is a public hearing item. I don't know that we've had anybody request it, but we just need to open and close
Yes.
that for the record.
Any comments from the public? Not hearing any? Any further comments from the board? What is the, are we to approve this report? What is the action that we're expected here?
Yeah, I think so. Just to prove that, I mean, obviously if there's any corrections or anything I needed to change, I could, but otherwise, yeah, approve it.
Okay, anybody want to move to approve this?
Let me ask one question first.
Another question, yes?
Yeah, I noticed you using the word exceptional back here a couple pages ago. I assume that means exceptionally good.
Yeah,
I guess it could mean exceptionally bad.
I think you're talking about exceptional waters.
It was back, no, it had to do with the biodiversity along the Harpeth River, I think.
Yes, that's exceptionally good.
Okay, good. That's it.
Here's John Kenny. I make a motion with. Except for the review.
Davis, I will second.
Motion is made and seconded. Could you take a roll call, please?
John Kinney,
Yes.
Betsy Hester,
Yes.
Davis Lamb,
Yes.
Brad Hoot,
Yes.
Robbie Adams,
Yes.
Liz McLaurin,
Yes.
Andy Reese.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Moving on to other business. Item number 3, who is going to present that?
I guess that's me. That is the update, right? Or is that the calendar? What is that?
Not the calendar. There's,
Oh, that's not
it
me.
says
That's Debbie.
2019 Stormwater Appeals Board waiver / appeals update. I'm not sure what that is.
I'll let Debbie do that. Debbie, you there? That's our calendar.
Yeah, what do we got?
So there, I guess,
Michael,
item.
Michael, that item is where you go through the appeals from last year and give an update. Did you have
Yeah.
that prepared or was that part of the report?
Oh, I do have that prepared. Yes, that is item.
That's
Oh
this,
wait, that
that's
is
this
this item.
item. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't have a calendar in front of me. Let me do the report real quick, and then we'll get to the calendar here.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So this is the update on a request for waivers. So every year, at y'all's request, for the previous year, I do updates on actions that were taken during that year. So this would be highlighting 2019. And these are all the waiver requests that were heard by this board and an update on where they are. So if anybody has trouble seeing it or anything, let me know. I might have a little trouble zooming in because it's on Google Slides, I think, which is a little harder to work with sometimes. But so we had 5 waivers: a sanitary sewer, 3 driveways / utilities, and LID. Can y'all see that okay?
I can.
Okay. So March 27th, we heard from Paul Holzen, the city engineer, the city engineer Franklin, who was requesting a waiver to do a proposed sanitary sewer system within the WENA. Sanitary sewer or gravity system or gravity lines are allowed within the WENA up to 25 feet. In this case, they had a few areas that were within 25 feet. So the action or the request for waiver was approved, and the sewer line is in, and we have some pictures of it. So, you know, there's not really anything there. It looks like it did before. Actually, back in the back, the grass looks a little greener. This is down further down in, I forget which subdivision it is, down 5 Mile, I think where 5 Mile converges with this. And basically, I'm just outlining, it looks pre-construction, a pre-construction state or pre-construction condition. This is right off Lewisburg. So our next appeal was Joey Wilson on behalf of Jake Raines. Requested a waiver to allow a driveway within the waterway natural area. This one was a little contested even by the applicant because I think the state called it a stream, but his QHP did not. I'm not sure how it got, I think there was a disagreement. There wasn't much of a channel, but, you know, it was treated like a stream. The request for waiver was approved with a planting plan for 2 lots with native vegetation. Here's the planting plan. I don't know if I can, let me see if I can zoom in on this thing here a little bit. I know it's probably hard to see, and I know that you probably can't read it. Basically, they were putting a few trees in. The thing about this one where I didn't get to, I guess, we didn't get overly, we didn't make them put a whole bunch of trees in because there really wasn't anything there to begin with. It was pretty open. So, you know, what they did seemed like an improvement. And they've installed the trees. They're small trees. But, you know, this is along a lake, so it was already impounded. And it's still within a WENA, but this driveway right here in the front encroaches into it a little bit, I think 10 feet or something. So they planted some trees. You can't tell much here, but I mean, it's stable. I thought it looked pretty good. May 22nd, Barnhill Road, Dustin Williams with Dale & Associates requested a waiver to allow a driveway within the WENA. It was approved as submitted, and the driveway is in. So it's a lot of fill they brought in here, but, and I know Betsy was out there. I think maybe John went out there. I don't know who else went out there, but there's a creek right here at the bottom, and they wanted to access this lot in the back, and so they kind of went a little bit parallel with the creek right in this area here. Filled it in, stabilized it, put in some riprap for the ditch, and it's all stable. June 26th, we've heard from Donald Rochford of Stevens Valley for sections 1. So this was a waiver of 1, 2, and 3 of the stormwater regs. The waiver was approved with conditions. I didn't put all the conditions down, although I've got them here. Let me pull that up real quick here. Okay. Here's the action letter as a result of the board meeting. So what they were wanting to do, to summarize, was to replace the bioretention, in some cases replace, in some cases in lieu of putting in bioretention, install these other proprietary devices, units called Base Saver, Focal Point, a lot of stuff that I'm not real familiar with, but I learned about, and I know you guys did too. I know Andy's probably pretty well versed in this stuff. A different system for treating the stormwater, and so you guys approved it, and it applies, I think, to all the sections of the subdivision. I don't know if you guys want me to read through that or if you can, but basically, when infiltration testing fails to meet 0.5 inches per hour. The applicant can utilize water quality units, SunTree, Bay Saver, or staff approved equivalent, and the design would be 80% TSS, which is reverting back to the older standards. Regardless of infiltration rates, the applicant could utilize focal point. So basically that means he could use it anywhere in lieu of bioretention. And then with the condition that the maintenance escrow will be provided in perpetuity, a third party will execute an approved maintenance plan and cannot be changed or canceled by homeowners association documents. And then we also had some of the waiver stuff in there. That's kind of old. We don't need to rehash that. So I didn't take a picture of these because they haven't put them in yet. They're still in development. So that's kind of a wait and see kind of deal, I guess. Our last one, November 13th, 445 Buchanan Lane. Tony Grow, on behalf of Craig Hudgens, requested a waiver to allow a driveway utility within the WINA. The request for waiver was approved with the following conditions that I'm pretty sure we make pretty clear to the applicant. Land disturbance permit required prior to improvements or installation of utilities. Utilities be located on the south side of this existing gravel driveway, and a QHP or other professional must oversee installation of utilities and provide as-built. Unfortunately, they started on really the whole site without any LDP and were assessed $8,000 in civil penalties, which they've gotten the coverage now, so that they do have coverage and they're out there working. They do have a QHP, Tony Grow, who's been the consultant for them. This is kind of the state of the driveway now. It's pretty well stabilized. I don't know that they put the utilities in. I'll have to follow up with them. I know the driveway's in. But we'll follow up on the placement of the utilities. And with that, that's all of our waivers. Questions, comments?
Is there any action we need to take on this?
I don't believe so.
No,
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, that's just a report. No actions needed.
Very good. Let's move on to the calendar.
Right, basically, this is just a schedule of the meeting dates for 2021 and the deadlines. And you will see I've got a star beside the dates that changed because of the holidays.
I'll move that we accept.
Can you remind us what the term is on this committee again? I always forget that.
That one I am not sure of. Christy, I think, is it 4 years or 3 years?
I want to
Well,
say 3.
Regulate.
I was thinking it was a 3-year term.
Yeah, I think they were staggered at the first, and then they all came into the same length term, but that sounds about right. Let me,
Let me see if I can look real quick.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Just next. I'm just trying to figure out when people rotate on and off, and if someone would rotate off, but for some reason they and everybody else wants them to stay on, is that acceptable, or do we need to rotate? Those are just kind of.
No,
I
you don't
looked
have
at
to.
the
You don't have to
calendar.
rotate off. There's a set term, but you don't have to rotate off at the end of the term. It's basically an appointment, and so if you're asked if you want to serve again, then you can say yes or you can say no.
Okay, got it. Yep.
yeah,
I was
all
on one where you needed to get off, and so I was like, I couldn't remember. Maybe they just told me that. But
No, there's not. Well, at least on this board, there's not a requirement that you have to rotate off. I'll put it that way.
Very good.
Yeah, it's 3-year terms, and except for the member of the Board of County Commissioners whose term shall run concomitant with his/her elected term of office.
Got it. Any other comments on the calendar?
Do we need a motion to accept the calendar?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Davis so moves.
Second?
John Kenny, so moved.
First and seconded, take a roll call, please.
John Kinney,
Approved.
Betsy Hester,
Approved, yes.
Davis Lamb,
Approved.
Brad Hoot,
Aye.
Robbie Adams,
Approved.
Liz McLaurin,
Approve.
Andy Reese.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Any old or new business?
No, I'd just also like to thank Michael for doing this. It
Yeah.
does take some time to put together, and I think he did a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, we should move for a raise, but I don't think we can do that. So sorry.
Hey, we could try it.
Boy, wouldn't that be nice? You can have our pay. How's that?
Yeah.
$75, sure. I'll, in addition to.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Liz McLaurin, second.
I suppose we could roll call.
I don't think that's necessary, is it, Chris?
Yeah. No, it's not. Just nod your head. It's good.
Okay.
Thank
Vote
you
with your
all.
feet. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Nice work.
Thank you.
Thank
This
you.
conference is